Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the presentation of colors from American Legion Post 3.
Mark. Hope. Live. Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for our national anthem. You lead me, because I don't do that for a living. Ooh-ah! Give it up for Yvonne Julian.
Before I could officially call us to order, and that thank you for that impromptu singing, that was wonderful. I'd like to thank all of you who supported me in 2023 for the chance to serve as the chair of the Greenville County Republican Party. It really was the opportunity, the opportunity of a lifetime. I feel particularly blessed to have such an amazing team of volunteers and also to have served as your chair when we had the historic election for President Trump. So thank you all again for the opportunity. And thank you again for participating in Reorg 2025. So we are officially called to order. And I'd like to, at this point, ask Mr. Thomas Marto, the EC of Castle Rock, to come forth and do our prayer.
It's always a pleasure to be asked to pray for others. Heavenly Father, we bring you here today. We ask you to wash over us with your Holy Spirit, that you would blot out all the noise of this world. We can only hear your voice. We pray for your favor on us, Father, the favor that you promised us, that Christ asked us to pray for, that we be one with you as you are one with the Son. In the days when it's very difficult and we have a hard time just coming up with the words, we pray the prayer that Jesus gave us. It was called the Our Father. And I ask that you pray that with me today. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thou, the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. And it's been yours, the power and the glory, Father, before time, this current time, and forevermore. And we thank you for your presence and your Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much. And at this point, I'd like to acknowledge David Skelton, President-elect of Paris Mountain, who was going to do our pledge, but since we've had that from the Color Guard, thank you, David, whoever you are. And we'll move on to the Republican Creed by Kenneth Meyer, who is the President-elect of Circle Creek.
I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream and build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for dole. I prefer the challenges of life to guaranteed security, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefit of my creations, to face the whole world boldly and say,
I am a free American. Thank you. Thank you very much, David. So the next item, as you see on our agenda, is the election of temporary officers. So at this point, I'd like to offer that without objection, we elect Mr. Ray Sheen, Ms. Angie Fisher, and Ms. Tracy Romano for the offices of temporary president, temporary convention secretary, and temporary convention treasurer. No, so there's no objections. So these roles are elected. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. And
Great.
you're going to do is
Okay.
you need a Bill Frady introduction.
Right. Okay.
There you go. And then we're going to do the agenda.
Right. So good evening, everyone. The next item on our agenda is to approve that temporary agenda. You have in your packet the agenda that we'll be covering tonight. Right now, we're going to look at just the temporary agenda meeting. We're going to ask you to approve that we move to the guest speakers. And then following that, when we get to the permanent convention, we'll approve the permanent agenda and permanent rules. But is there a motion to approve the temporary agenda? Okay, one rule I'm going to ask that whoever makes a motion, you need to shout out your name and precinct because we need to record it for the minutes. So who's making that motion? John Stevens, Wade Hampton. Is there a second? Again, name and precinct. Okay. You still okay? We still didn't get. Can you come up to the mic? We're having trouble understanding. Sorry.
Emerson Cook of Ashland Lakes would like to second the motion to adopt the temporary agenda for the convention.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Very good. Well, the next thing I'd like to do is take a minute and introduce Bill Frady, who's going to be emceeing our special guest speakers. And I was just given this, Bill, so I haven't read this before. Hopefully I don't mess up too badly. Let me just say, I listen to Bill on the radio. I like listening to Bill on the radio. He has good stuff. So with that, 2 years ago, I reached out to, this I believe is Yvonne writing, I reached out to Bill asking him to moderate a debate among the candidates for chair of the Greenville County Republican Party. That was Bill's introduction to our Draining the Swamp group. Since then, Bill has been a guest at the Friday coffees and the political meetings that we have at the Republican Party headquarters. He's also been invited by Yvonne and has invited Yvonne and Jeff as guest speakers on his popular radio program on WORD. Bill is a great friend of the Republican Party. He's been a big endorser of the reorganization process that we've just gone through. Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point and let you introduce our guest speakers.
You might have taken all of my notes. I don't have this. I'm pretty good, but I haven't memorized all that. Look, is it underneath your envelope there? Or did Yvonne take it? Did you take my notes?
Yep.
First things first, I want to thank you. Well, the ratings book came out today. Persons 12 and older, WORD, all-time slots, #1 in the state. And I didn't do that. I listen, I've got headphones on, so I do hear myself, but I wouldn't even tune in me if I had to. So I thank you guys for doing that for me. I was talking today, and as we were coming in, I saw the dozens of Democratic protesters with their catchy slogans. It was quite catchy. They can do all kinds of things with MAGA. And I did a piece today where they were sending Bernie Sanders and AOC to Coachella. Do you guys know what Coachella is? So I'm just trying to fathom what's the message, because Gen Z is supposedly the most conservative generation to come along because they're the ones taking all the impact right now. But they had Bernie Sanders out there, and he was screaming about the oligarchy. I need to do one thing, though. I completely forgot to do this, and I don't know where there he is. My path, I didn't set my path at WORD. I had a bit of inspiration as it went along. One of them was Russ Castle, of course. I listened to Russ, I listened to Mike, and I listened to Rush Limbaugh. But then along came this guy named Bobby Mack, and he is here. One word, though. Well, actually, it's going to be a group of words. Anybody worried about the tariff thing right now? No? Nobody's worried about it. Really? Well, let's talk about something else then. One thing that has happened, though, now, America First was highly concentrated, and it was the envy of the rest of the state, just because of the high concentration that is here. And quite interestingly, with a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of elbow grease, Spartanburg flipped that card the other day. So now it's becoming a regional thing. And I know that there's all kinds of people here from various places because of certain people that are going to be here. But I see you over there, Becky, with your shirt that you can see from low Earth orbit. There she is over there. We could use her to signal something if we had to. This is not going to be easy. what we're about to do nationally. And it's not going to be easy what we're going to try to do statewide either. But one thing that I realized when I sat back after being out of the military for 35 years, when I was overseas during the Cold War, it never occurred to us that against the Soviet Union we would lose. We were completely unconcerned with anything they might have done. We had the measures, the countermeasures, the countermeasures. We were going to go in there, and we were going to be eating their borscht. And this is something that is easily doable, what's coming up, but it's going to be tough. Because I've seen on the text line, it's quite interesting to watch the text line, because on the tariff thing, everybody's like, oh, well, this is bad. This is really bad. We're going to be going down this, down there. We elected this guy. We got to give him time to work. What are we on day? Is this day 84? Is it 84? 84 days in office. Let's see. Do we have 500 people coming across the border right now? And the other day, the Department of Defense, which I'm not the president of the Pam Bondi fan club or anything, but they got up there and told that Judge Zinnis, we've given your sweetheart all of the due process he's going to get. He's a Salvadoran citizen in a Salvadoran prison. So you've already done the hard work. You've done it here. You flipped Spartanburg. Don't worry too much about the Midlands. It's a very confused place down there. And, the coastline, well, the coast is the coast. But I believe Mr. Davis told me one time I think we control 14% of what goes on in the state here. So, and that's about all I think you guys want to hear from me now. Do we have, I'm looking for the first. I guess I might have to go on. So let me ask you a question. In terms of, does everybody understand that with the left is going to default to violence? You get that, right? Right? I mean, they don't like, and it's quite interesting to watch because Donald Trump was a Democrat. He was in every movie out there made during the 90s. He had a cameo and everything. Elon Musk, Democrat. Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat. RFK Jr., Democrat. This is not going the way they want. I'm not worried about that one out there because they're not old enough to be rating in the ratings book. That's okay. You guys have got to, you got to pray for peace, and you had better be prepared for something kinetic if time comes. And the beauty of this is just show of hands. I already know the color guard. Show of hands, how many veterans are in this crowd? This corridor is the most richly invested group of veterans in the United States, in the Southeast Corridor. And if something does go sideways, no, I won't be running and gunning my time up, but I will be a force multiplier because I will be showing people how to do that. And that's the one thing you've got to be mindful of, is because it's not going to be your decision. Because we don't want to do that. We don't want to go there. Show me the hands of the veterans again. Now see, if I say to them, 200 Antifa are coming around the corner, all I need is 5 of those guys. 5 against Antifa. And the first time, when the Antifa comes around the corner, they'll be like, look at the old man. Does anybody understand what the terminology wound canoe means? well, then Antifa will be tasting their comrades behind them. But we don't want to do that. We really don't. We don't want to go that way. My fear is that it's not going to matter what we want. So, just something to be mindful of. And now we're looking for Nancy. Let me tell you about my speaker here. Okay. Well, Nancy Mace comes from a military family as the daughter of a retired Army general and school teacher. She started working at Waffle House after dropping out of high school and became the first woman graduate from the Citadel Military College of South Carolina 26 years ago. I would never have gone to the Citadel. You couldn't have paid me. She built a business from the ground up, ran for office when others wouldn't, and made history again as the first Republican woman elected to Congress from South Carolina. She fights for what's right, balanced budgets, low to no taxes, deporting illegals, a government who answers to the people and the rights of women and girls. She is not a fan of the trans. Faith guides her, facts drive her, and she never backs down. And I would not want to sit across from her in one of those hearings when she's fixing that gaze. It's slightly over her glasses, and it just is deadly. So please join me in welcoming U.S. Representative from the 1st District, Nancy Mace.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you say trans in Greenville? Yes. Can we say tranny in Greenville? We can say tranny, because that's like an oversight hearing for me. That's with me and Jasmine Crockett and all the crazies on the left. Good evening, Greenville County. Who is sleeping better knowing that Donald Trump is in the White House? Every day. South Carolina is first in the South. We pick presidents and we pick Donald J. Trump. There has never been a more strong president than Donald Trump. They impeached him. They raided his house. They indicted him. They even shot him. And still he stood standing and he stood strong. We prayed for him. We stood behind him. And we know that God carried Trump that day. And we know because no weapon formed against him shall ever prosper. We know God's on his side. When God calls someone, no man can cancel him. None of those dweeby protesters outside, those soy boys on Twitter. Nope, nobody can. It's just like David v. Goliath because they're coming after us. I just found out, just when I walked in here an hour ago, that the guy in Butler, Pennsylvania, who just threatened Donald Trump, just threatened Vice President Vance, also threatened me in January. He wanted to put a bullet in my head. No way. And I'm the only member of Congress that guy that we know of just is coming after us now. I will stand up for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance every day of the week. I don't care who's threatening me. I don't care. I want to thank the one and only Steve Bannon for being here tonight. Steve Bannon is in the house. We love the War Room. We love the War Room. And I thank Steve for letting me on the War Room. We have great conversations. He has been exposing the deep state for years. And now we know everything he said is true because the truth has come out. He's exposing all the corruption and he's never backed down. But we know that he's never backed down because he's got God on his side. God has carried Steve Bannon. So thank you, Steve. Thank you for holding the line. Trump is back. He's securing the border. He's deporting illegals. He's protecting women's sports. He's declaring there's not one, only two genders, two sexes. There's male and female. And we know this because of God, our creator. God created man and God created woman. And we know DEI is now DOA under Donald Trump. There we go. The left is having a complete and total meltdown, but this is what happens when you replace weakness and wokeness with common sense and Donald Trump strength. That's MAGA. And there's this huge battle going on. We all know it. We all see it, the undercurrent. It's not just a battle between parties. It's not just a battle between ideology. This is a battle today between good and evil. Because what is out there today is truly, truly some of the most unadulterated, purest evil. It's the devil's work. It is the devil's hand. I see that more today than I ever have. And I thought being nice at the beginning, that would be okay. Nice is what got us here. Nancy Mace is done being nice. Done. When the media doubted Donald Trump, when the media mocked him, when the left mocked him, the establishment tried to stop him, South Carolina stood strong with Donald Trump. We told the country, and we're telling them now tonight, South Carolina is and always will be Trump country. We don't back down. We don't cower. We don't back down. South Carolina doubles down. So I grew up the daughter of a tough Army general, and my school teacher mom was even tougher. So when I dropped out of high school at the age of 17, my parents said, you have two choices. You can go back to school, or you can get a job. I, of course, got a job. And where did I get that job? At a fine dining establishment known as the Waffle House. Who's been to the Waffle House? There we go. I soon learned that maybe making waffles wasn't the best decision I'd ever made. I eventually would go back and get my high school diploma. Denny's was a little too highbrow. Any Denny's people in here? I'm only waffles. But at the age of 17, I learned dropping out of high school was maybe not the best idea. So while Waffle House was an important part of my journey, it would not be my final destination. So 26 years ago, I became the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. There we go. There's the ring. This is a college campus where we don't burn American flags, we salute them. I soon went from making waffles to then again making history. In 2021, I became the first Republican woman ever elected to Congress from the state of South Carolina. I am now joined by Sherry Biggs, and we love her. But I didn't do it alone. I didn't get here alone. God carried me. South Carolina carried me. My family carried me. If I weren't the daughter of the king, I would not be here today. None of us would be. So my full grace and glory, my thanks goes to God, our creator, always. And I didn't come to Congress to make friends. I came to Congress to make a difference. I went to Congress to hold the line. I fired a sanctuary sheriff while every state official last year stood by quietly, silently. We had a sanctuary sheriff in South Carolina. Her name was Kristen Graziano. She was letting illegals out onto the streets of South Carolina who were murderers, rapists, pedophiles. Not a single statewide elected official said a word. When I found out about it, I said a lot of words. They were not nice. I gave a lot of speeches. I was not nice. I was not nice when Kim Cheadle came before the Oversight Committee weeks after Donald Trump was shot, and she lied to America. I gave her a lesson on the truth. Filing an impeachment resolution wasn't good enough for me that day. So I filed a privileged motion to impeach her, which would demand and require 48 hours later a vote. Leadership didn't want me to do it. So you know what I did? I did it anyway. I did it anyway. 12 hours later, Kim Cheadle resigned. And if you need a reminder that I don't back down, let me introduce you to George Stephanopoulos. I taught George Stephanopoulos a $15 million lesson in the truth. When I went on ABC News last year, and I went on as a rape survivor to go defend Donald Trump against the smears on Donald Trump. $15 million to go to his presidential library. I haven't told the president yet. All I want in the presidential library, I just want one thing. I want one female bathroom named after me. That's it. I just want one female bathroom named after me. That's it. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of domestic abuse. I was recently diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, but I don't want pity. I just want a microphone because I want to fight for our women and girls. Women and girls should not be forced to change or dress in front of men in the locker room. That's what the left wants. We shouldn't be forced to have men in girls' sports. We've got 2 men competing in women's fencing around the world. Like, that's crazy to me. I will always fight for real American women. And I know in Greenville County, looking around the room tonight, we have real men in Greenville County. Men in Greenville County don't wear mini skirts, and real men protect women. So hats off to all of our men who protect our women and girls. We need you. So I want you to know, some women carry Mace in their purse. I want you to know you've got Mace in Congress fighting for you every day of the week. But the left, they try to cancel us, they try to kill us, they try to scare us, but you can't scare Greenville County, South Carolina. Y'all do not back down. Because we serve a God who parts the seas, we serve a God who shuts the mouths of lions, and we serve a God who raises up warriors in our darkest hour. I've introduced many bills while in Congress, most recently the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act in January. 145 Democrats voted against a bill to deport illegals who are here, who are murderers, rapists, and pedophiles. 145 voted against that. All you have to do is ask Maddie Hines' family about open borders, because the illegal who killed that young toddler was deported under Donald Trump, let back in under Joe Biden. No more. Donald Trump's at the White House, and he is removing these people from our country. The left said, the Democrats said, my bill demonized immigrants. All my bill did was demonize demons. What don't they understand about this? The left would rather have these criminals roam free than keep you safe. Who's heard of the SAVE Act? Anyone heard about the SAVE Act last week? 208 Democrats voted against a bill that would only allow U.S. citizens to vote in U.S. elections. Crazy. The only way that Democrats can win is if they cheat. And they cheat with illegal aliens right here under our noses in the United States of America, 21 million of them. And they're trying to erase what it means to be an American, just like they're trying to erase what it means to be a woman. Go ask a Democrat, what is a woman? I'm making this like a thing now. Like every hearing, I want to go in and say, what is a woman? Nobody can define what it is. But we're not going to let them, not in South Carolina. Not while we still have air in our lungs and fire in our hearts. We will fight back against every lunatic leftist until our last breath. One citizen, one vote, one nation under God. I have met with the president and seen him several times since he was sworn in. I have never been more proud to be an American today. And we are just getting started. South Carolina is just getting started. We have a lot of elections next year, including a statewide election for governor. And it's going to be important that the upstate and every county around the state chooses a candidate who's truly going to be a conservative, who's not a mouthpiece for MAGA, who actually has a record of implementing an America First agenda at the federal level and right here in the state of South Carolina. I'm done with willy-nilly governor's establishment machine. No. I want to see Trump's agenda implemented from the state all the way down to the local level. And it's going to take each and every one of you in this room tonight. You have to promise me you will make that happen. Promise me now. Absolutely. We are not retreating. We are not apologizing. We are not negotiating with woke. We are going to hold the line in South Carolina. And I want you to know the world is watching. The world is watching America. And we must show them what we're made of. Scripture says in Ecclesiastes 4:12 that there is a rope. If you have one strand of a rope, you're going to lose the fight. 2 strands are better. Each man can fight back to back, but you will not win. 3 strands of rope are stronger. And our state and our nation is held together by the 3 strands of faith, of family, and freedom. And we will not back down. We're not broken. We're not beaten. We are bold and we are blessed. Just like Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron. To the Citadel grads in the room tonight, I'm grateful for the Citadel sharpening my iron when I was a young kid. I needed it. I needed God in my life. I needed the Citadel. I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm thankful for the Citadel being my iron. We're the building blocks of this nation with our heads bowed in prayer before God and our feet before tyrants. We can do this. There is power in the brokenness that we sometimes feel, and I've been broken a lot. So I stand tonight before you, not just as a congresswoman, as a survivor, as the daughter of a king, and to anyone who's been where I've been, those tough places, you are not alone. And it's hard to tell people when you've been in that tough spot. We don't cower. We fight back. We rise. When we're weak, we seek God's wisdom. Every time I've been at that point, I have sought his wisdom. 6 years ago, I was in a tough spot, and I'll leave you with this. And I went to church for the first time in a very long time. 2019, May. It was Saturday night church. Who likes to go to Saturday night service? Love it. And the preacher was preaching on Jeremiah 6:16 about being at a crossroads in life and choosing the right path. And my son at the time was 12. It was the first time he was in a church for a long time. He put his arm around me. He said, Mommy, I love you. He said, Mommy, God loves you. We are going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Our family is going to be okay. And I knew right then I had God on my side. And that moment has changed me. And it's changed my life and my kids' lives. Just last year, I'm wearing my cross earrings from a chosen conference, a women's church conference last fall, where my daughter accepted Christ as her Savior, her father, her friend. So that's our power, is believing in God because he believes in us and he sacrificed everything for us. He gave his life. He gave everything for us. So just as Trump quickly rose to his feet with a defiant fist in the air in Butler Township, Pennsylvania, America is rising on hers. We are courageous, we are resilient, we are united, and we are ready to take on the challenges of this moment. I will never stop fighting for South Carolina. I will never stop fighting for the United States. I will never stop fighting for Donald J. Trump. Thank you. God bless you. I love you. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
U.S. Representative Nancy Mace. Although I do have a question, if I may. So, Waffle House, Citadel. All right. I'm digging that. Yes, ma'am.
Curtis next, and then here is the Bannon.
Okay.
Okay. So if you'll do Curtis, and then we can get it to go. Oh, thank you.
She was kind enough to give me Curtis Loftis notes. I don't need Curtis Loftis notes. In 2011, when I had an audience in the former, I started radio at the former home of Air America. You can only imagine the reception I got on day 2. And I got invited to a party this was, Tea Party times. And I got to meet our next speaker. And he told me, he said, hey, it's really cool to be a winner, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, I gotta admit it is. And the reason I don't need his notes is because he has executed his office every day since that day, and you've never known that he was there. And that tells you he's been doing the deed. I'm not going to call him embattled, because very shortly I'm going to be inviting some of the people out there that are giving him a little bit of grief, and I'm going to invite them to come on the air, and I'm going to say, you can come on and talk with me, but you can be assured I'll be talking about you should you fail. Ladies and gentlemen, your state treasurer, Curtis Loftis.
I don't know if y'all hate technology as much as I do. After 15 years, I finally started using my timer, and I go to use my timer, and my best friend from California calls me. What do you do? It's good to be here. I'm going to teach you the difference between a congressman and a treasurer. I'm going to spend my time talking about the tariffs and the effect of the 10-year treasury. No, not really. It's good to be here. Nancy mentioned some scripture, and I think it's appropriate. I'm not going to go quite that deep into it, but for an elected official in South Carolina, we all have our offices in Columbia, the statewide offices. And we're there, and we're in that 4 blocks around the State House where crazy is accepted as normal practice. If you want the road to Damascus, the road to enlightenment, the road to change your perspective, you get on I-26, you go about an hour and 10 or hour and 40 minutes, depending on where you're going, and you're in God's country. You're in the upstate, you're in the birthplace and the heart place of conservatism in South Carolina. And over the last 2 years, I haven't had as much chance to get up here as I normally do, and I can't tell you how good it is to be back here. This weekend, we have a lot going on between the Masters and the Guided Heritage and all these other events coming up. It's springtime. But we all decided to come here to be with y'all. And there's no place I'd rather be here than with working men and women and retired folks and service folks than to be with the elites. I spend enough time with them, and I understand that I have very little in common with them. And so it's my job to get out and get around and make sure that I represent y'all. South Carolina is an interesting place. We were Trump before Trump came along. I was elected in 2010 and then inaugurated in 2011. And that was the Tea Party days. How many of y'all were in the Tea Party? Yeah. There are not many Tea Party people left. And we need MAGA, and I'm glad it's back. In 2015, well before the time Trump came and before he announced for president, I had him at a conference of state elected officials down in Charleston. Treasurers, comptrollers, all the money people. He came down there and you wouldn't have believed it. It was one of his first non-campaign stops, but it was a campaign stop. And he was fantastic. And I was the host, so I tried to sell him a trailer park from up here, and I call it Trump's Trailer Park Extravaganza. And you know the size of the man, because I was really kind of picking on him at the time. And he gave better than he got, and he left with nothing but a smile on his face. And ever since then, when he comes to South Carolina, he has a smile on his face when he comes and when he goes. I've been around him enough, and I don't want to allude to friends or something, but I've been around him enough to know that he's an amazing man. And I was asked by one of the foreign press groups today, what's he like? And they said, he's nothing like the guy you see on TV. He's better, so you can't imagine. He is more fun to be around. And if you're not careful, he will prank you right there in front of everybody. So the whole point of me coming up here today is, one, I need it. This is my road to Damascus. I came to Spartanburg on Saturday, and I'm back up here again. And I'm going to be around a lot. Many of you know that I'm in a spot of trouble back home. I've got the elites chasing me. And for some reason, they just can't understand that I am not confused. I don't work for them. I work for y'all. My folks are from Inman and New Prospect and all around Greenville County. There's not many places we had then. I have red mud and peaches in my DNA. I mean, I feel great when I can see those mountains and the foothills when they're coming up I-26. And that's what we're about. And I want to make sure that y'all know how much we in Columbia thank you, how much of a disproportionate effect you can have on government, because we need you more than ever. After 15 years, I was going to retire. I thought I'd retire after the first term, but I kept finding more problems. I've been looking at a house in Colorado. I'm too cheap, really, because I put in 3 bids and hadn't got one yet. But I was narrowing in on one. It was close enough to Aspen to be able to go skiing, but far enough away I wouldn't have to put up with the liberals. And then the Senate started chasing me. And I'm not going to let them win. I'm not going to retire. I'm not going to retire, and I'm going to run for re-election, and I'm going to show them how you protect the money. I never had a house in the Rockies, so I'm not going to miss it. But the one thing I would miss, and one thing I would know, I got to check my time because the daggone screen goes off. These new phones are killing me. I promised the people of South Carolina on 4 times, on the State House steps on 4 different occasions, that I'd protect their money. I'd defend the Constitution and protect their money. I promised my mom and my dad. Dad was born in 1929 and Mom was born in 35. They both passed the last couple of years. And if my dad knew that I was leaving the treasurer's office when those elites, those people who think they can overturn an election because 3 or 4 of them want to do it, he would roll in his grave. And I know that everybody in this room feels the same way. We have got to stop these people. They want to overturn an election. They want control of your money, and they're not going to stop. I manage for y'all about $50 billion a night. That's with a B. They want it because they want to pick their managers like BlackRock or whoever it is they want. They want their bankers. They want their lawyers. They want what every elite wants, and they want what you have. And I hope y'all will stand with me. I hope you'll stand with the other guests who are up here tonight. I hope you'll stand with the Greenville County Republican Party and the conservative movement, because we've got lots of work to do. In Columbia, in some ways, we're backing up. I need your help. I need you to call your senators. I need you to say, I support Treasurer Loftis, and I want you to support him too. I need that. I've never asked for that ever. And I'm going to win this. I'm going to run for re-election. I'm going to win that. I don't take a vote for granted. I got to work for your vote. And we're going to protect your money. And we're going to protect your rights and privileges. So I thank you very much for having me here today, because I love being with y'all. I'm not confused. I work for you, and I love being here. Thank you. Thank you. Feel free.
My grandfather used to tell me about something called a boomer. He would tell me you can catch them, but sometimes you can't let go of them fast enough, Curtis. So if they, if they come up on this, I don't think what they want to do is going to happen. You're still a winner. Your state treasurer, Curtis Loftis. Steve Bannon was born into a Virginia-based Catholic family and attended both high school and college in his hometown. He earned a BA in Urban Affairs from Virginia Tech in 1976 before joining the U.S. Navy, initially serving on a destroyer. Bannon was promoted to a post at the Pentagon and continued his education, earning a master's in National Security Studies from Georgetown. I will tell you what impressed me about Steve Bannon. Never met him. I've never met him yet. But I did meet somebody at the gala. And she is a West Point graduate. That's hard. Any West Point graduates here? That's how hard it is. And the whole time she was there, she came to a point where all of that hardness just dropped away. And she said while her dad was away in jail that she didn't get to see her dad. He's a good dad. He's a good father. His daughter missed him. That's all I need. That's all I need. It don't take much to impress me. That impresses me so many different ways. So, ladies and gentlemen, your keynote speaker from the War Room, Steve Bannon.
Thank you. Thank you. We got some WarRoom posse here? Was a little too late in the afternoon for you guys? Come on. I came here to see what a MAGA insurgency looks like. You all have worse press than I do. And that's just the local paper. Look, I came here for one reason. This is raw political power, right? You took it back from the establishment, right? You took it right back from the establishment. Let's go back to those dark days of 2021. Remember that? President Trump had just won his second term, but was he in Washington, D.C.? Trump won, right? Damn right. You damn. They stole it, right? Stole it right in front of us. Stole it with cooperation of the Republican establishment, did they not? Because Trump, not in the room, not in the deal, and President Trump not only put you in the room, he put you at the head of the table, correct? Is that what's going to save this country? It has to. How did we get in this shape? How do we get here? Well, Joe Biden's part of it. He's part of it. A big part of it. No, the corrupt, Democratic, neo-Marxist party is what they are. Backed by the lords of easy money, the sociopathic overlords on Wall Street, the global corporatists, the apartheid state oligarchs in Silicon Valley, which the progressive movement and progressive Democrats created. We didn't create it. Trump didn't create them. Hell, Trump's got Zuckerberg on trial that started in Washington, D.C. this very day. Remember all the talk about Trump? Trump said, oh, they're all there at the inauguration, and Trump's going to kowtow to him, going to give him everything. And Zuckerberg came, and he was a supplicant, had his money, and gave it over and over again, right? He started trial today to break up Facebook. Trump brought that in his first term. And Zuckerberg begged him, please, whatever you do, I can't go to trial because he's got to testify. He's got to testify in front of the American people of what he did to shut down the conservative movement and silence people so they could steal an election. And we haven't even got to his criminal activity, the $450 million he gave to steal the 2020. The sociopathic lords of easy money on Wall Street, the global corporatists domiciled in this country that you protect, right, with your laws, your law enforcement, and your military. The apartheid state oligarchs in Silicon Valley that don't want any American citizens working for them because they have to pay a decent wage, and they'd rather import the foreigners who have no earthly idea where they're getting into. They're coming over here as indentured servants. Is that appropriate for America in the 21st century to bring indentured servants here to this country that work for 50% less and live in horrible conditions in Silicon Valley so that Zuckerberg and this crowd can make more money and become bigger billionaires? And they were created by the Democratic Party. In the 2008 financial collapse, Obama, the most progressive president in history, turned to the guys on Wall Street for the bailouts. Any of you guys get bailouts? Hell no, you didn't get a bailout. They all got bailed out. The biggest financial collapse in the country's history, bigger than the Great Depression. Not one executive in Wall Street went to jail. No corporate entities, no insurance companies, private equity, nobody went to jail, bailed out with trillions of dollars. The greatest concentration of wealth the nation has ever seen was in the 8 years of Obama's presidency. And what's Obama doing? He's most progressive. Those are just shiny toys they're throwing down in front while they concentrate money and power. At the same time, they made a deal with the oligarchs, 5 or 6 guys in Silicon Valley. We will have no antitrust. We will let you become absolute supreme in your areas. You will not be touched. But since we're a hegemon, all you have to do is promise that you're going to be and commit to give the commanding heights of social media and things like artificial intelligence. And what do we know in the last couple of months? In social media like TikTok, they're far behind. And in artificial intelligence, if DeepSeek, even if it's not a Chinese psyop, what do we know? We know that we're probably years behind, and every piece of energy capacity we're adding is just to do their artificial intelligence model. So here's their solution. You know what they want? They want a bailout. These are the richest people in the world, and they come to President Trump for a bailout. They want a Mercury project or a Marshall Plan. They want $500 billion to $1 trillion to bail them out, to get them to compete against the Chinese Communist Party. Plus, they want to take control of all the nation's weapons labs. Do you feel comfortable turning the nation's weapons labs over to guys like Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg? These people are freaks. You can tell that by looking at them. We're not going to do that. This is why what you are doing is so important. It is, quite frankly, along with President Trump, the salvation of this country. This coming Saturday is the 250th anniversary of the shot heard around the world. Lexington and Concord. That's what you are. We start this week with a shot heard around the world. There's no more powerful political convention going on in this year than right here. Why? Why? You are ordinary Americans with no money, and you grabbed power from the establishment and said, go screw yourself. We're going to run this country like it should be run. Look at the media reports. You guys seize power, MAGA insurgency, radical MAGA. What's so radical about what you're asking for? That working class and middle class people use your agency. That's what they hate most about what you're doing. They want you sitting on the sofa. They want you watching Netflix and just sitting there. Not doing what the patriots in Lexington and Concord did, which is get up and fight to take your country back. There's an unbroken chain from Lexington and Concord right here to this convention hall. Every one of you are exactly like those patriots. You're fearless. You don't care what they're going to do to you. You don't care what they're going to say about you. You know why? You're tough as boot leather, right? And you have found a leader in Donald John Trump for the first time in this country's history, at least since the founding of the nation, that is as tough as boot leather too. You're here to pick your delegates and your leaders, and they're going to go to Columbia for the state convention, right? My Lord. Oh, man. Are those folks ready for that? Those Republican rhinos? This is the same thing. I just got back to two shining examples in this nation right now. There's a couple others that are coming on. But the two shining examples in this nation of how you can sort this nation out are in Tarrant County, Texas, and right here in Greenville. Look at this. Look at this. This is not an election year. This is called, you got to borrow yourself and use your human agency. That's what they fear. They fear a free people coming together. And you have disagreements, you have fights. Hell, if I read the media, you're having fights every time you meet. But that's what it's supposed to be. You think the Patriots, do you think the Patriots had a group hug every time they met? Hell no. They knew what they had to do. And it came down here eventually to South Carolina to end this thing, right? Yeah. And it ended in my state, the Commonwealth of Virginia, but they were pretty beat up by the time they got there. They were ready to surrender. It's amazing. And what's most amazing is the individual we have as our leader that's inspired so many of you, President Trump, right? A man like that. And Bill Maher, I did Bill Maher on Friday in L.A., in Beverly Hills. And, he had just gone to the White House. I don't know if you guys got to see it. I don't sense there's a lot of Bill Maher fans in the audience, so I will summarize. I think it was Kid Rock had Bill Maher go to the White House and have a dinner with the president. And Bill Maher had a list. He starts off, he's got a list of 10 pages long. And it's everything that President Trump has called Bill Maher over the last 10 years. It may be 20 pages long. Caitlin Collins is the new stand-in for Bill Maher, okay? So, it's Trump. It's some rough stuff. And President Trump takes his pen out, reads it, and signs it and autographs it. Bill Maher said, and he's met just about every politician in this country, he said, this was an individual look you in the eye, let you speak your piece, didn't want to argue with you, heard it, had some comments. And I said, you just saw President Trump that people around him see all the time, right? Now he has a great sense of humor, but he's a listener. As a chairman CEO, having been at Goldman Sachs and other places where your job is to brief those people and to give them the alternatives so they can make decisions, President Trump is a listener. President Trump does not come in and dominate the room. He wants to hear what you have to say. And Bill Maher was shocked about that. He said, hey, everything in the public persona of the guy is not like the private persona. And I said, well, look, he has a role to fill, right, as commander-in-chief and president of the United States. And what you saw is the real man, but that is the man behind these policies, and this is why people love him. He connects to people. Now, think about it for a second. And I was there for 16 in the play-by-play, and I can tell you, it was divine providence. Divine providence had its hand in that victory. Because there we had a man, we had a plane, we had a message, we didn't have a lot of money, and we had virtually no organization. It was self-organizing. At the state level, you all remember that. It was self-organizing. The state groups did a great job, but they didn't have much cash either. And we won in a great comeback. I mean, when I took over in mid-August, I don't know, he was 10, 12 points down. We closed that gap, and he was leading, and then we had Billy Bush weekend, of which they thought, remember, they held that on purpose. They had that tape for years. They waited until before the last debate, or before that debate, the one in the round, thinking they would trap him. They didn't trap him, right? He pushed through it. The reason was, as I told him at the time, people know that they're losing their country. The most critical issues this nation's ever faced are before us today. That's what they worry about, and they know that you're not a politician. And look, he delivered a come from behind victory, probably the greatest at the time it ever happened. And then in those 4 years, you saw the deep state, the administration say, you also saw the true colors, the unmasking of the rhinos, right? The globalist rhinos. They didn't have his back. He's fighting them as much as he's fighting everybody else. Mitch McConnell in this crowd, Paul Ryan. And Paul Ryan didn't quit but not leave Speaker of the House in 2018, so they almost threw the House so President Trump could get impeached. And just that entire fight. Then to run 2020 against all odds and actually, I believe, have an outstanding victory, right? And nobody supported him, only you. The people that voted for him. The people that voted for him. And then he goes back to Mar-a-Lago, and that's about the same time that, we start making a big deal about the precinct strategy. The reason is we understand there's nobody coming to save us. If you don't do it, it's not going to be done. That's why you're exactly like the folks at Lexington and Concord. If it wasn't for them, it wouldn't get done. That's taking action. That's your lineage. Past every patriot's grave back to the beginning of the nation to here. You think they like what's going on here? They fear this. You know why they fear it? They think you could inspire a nation just like at Lexington and Concord. That you could say, I got off the sofa, I put down the channel changer, I went to the precinct meetings, and they weren't all great. And people didn't sit there and embrace you and say, isn't it great? You're coming here to empower the Republican Party. I don't think that happened, did it? That's where they call you a MAGA insurgency. You went in and said, okay, I hear you. We are going to take power. And you took it. So what happened? Trump goes to Mar-a-Lago, and all of a sudden, people around the country like yourself go, it's the rally point. We have to get engaged. The Republican Party is not going to save us. Fox News, the Murdochs aren't going to save us. We have to save ourselves. That is one of the most important moments in American history, the darkest days. Go back to 2021. How crushed you were, how much you said, like, oh my God, this is over. And look at that neo-Marxist regime that took over, and look what they tried to do. The billboards, if you saw anything, say something. It was like the Stasi in East Germany. Hell, we got people watching that German movie, The Lives of Others, and they're sitting there going, oh my God, this is just like East Germany was. It's happened in the United States, and it did happen in the United States. And what did President Trump do? Think about this for a second. He's down in Mar-a-Lago. He could have played the game. He could have taken a big book deal. He could have gone and bought more golf courses. He could have gotten to the Open Rota back in Europe. He could have gotten into the PGA, got Bedminster in the PGA. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got great grandkids. If you've ever been in Mar-a-Lago, it's like Xanadu, okay? It's a nice life. It can be an easy life. And he didn't choose that path. Think about that for a second. He made a conscious decision with intention, understanding that in January and February and March of 2021, and seeing with clarity ahead that they were going to try to put him in prison. They were going to try to assassinate him. They were going to try to bankrupt him and smear his family and bring up all these people say horrible things about him. And he made a conscious decision that said, I'm going to come back because this election was stolen, and we can't allow that to exist in a republic. You can read Jack Kennedy's profiles in courage, read them all. You add them up and triple them, and they're not even a tenth of the moral courage that Donald John Trump showed by saying, I'm coming back for the good of this republic. If we allow this thing to be stolen and we roll over, if we take the easy path, the path that the Republican Party has taken for decade after decade after decade, we're going to lose this republic. And who had his back? Did the big shots on Wall Street, did all the big pundits in the Republican Party, everybody's made millions of dollars off Trump, did they have his back? No. You had his back. That's why he did it. He knew the MAGA movement was going to have his back. Because you're a honey badger also. You don't care. What are they going to do to you? Bankrupt you, put you in prison? Try to kill us all. Hey, I dare them, right? We dare you. This movement's ascended. President Trump came back in 4 years. Remember, they're all talking, it's got to be DeSantis and Nikki Haley's going to be this, that. They're never going to be president of the United States. Donald Trump was going to win that from the beginning with your back. And they hate, man, you think if they hating on Trump, and they hate when I start saying he had moral clarity and he's not perfect, right? Not perfect. We've had one perfect individual in mankind's history, right? President Trump's not, and they nailed him to a cross, did they not? State authorities. This week also. Trump, it's his imperfections that make him more powerful. It's his imperfections. He's overcome his imperfections to come back and be this leader. Only Washington, Lincoln, and now Trump. General Washington at the beginning of the nation, the birth of the nation, Abraham Lincoln at the rebirth, and Donald Trump at the rejuvenation and to return America to her former greatness. That's why they hate him. And this is why it's so important for folks to come and not to speak to you, but to listen to you. This is the key to saving this nation. Everyone, every person out there, if they learn it's about your own agency, think about your own journeys, right? This has been easy. There's a whole lot of other stuff you could have been doing, right? And there were tough nights and tough fights and pettiness, constant pettiness, right? I hear some laughing over here. A little bit of pettiness. Of course it is. It's politics. This is the grimy part of politics. You're fighting for control of the greatest and most powerful nation in the history of the earth, right? Think about it. I know many of you love history here. You study, you read the Roman Empire, the British Empire, all of it. The United States of America is so much more powerful, has done so much more in the world than any of the great empires in ancient times. And you are one of the key players, and I would argue the key player in its survival and its future. Now, this is why the sociopathic overlords on Wall Street, the global corporatist, and the oligarch, the apartheid state oligarchs in Silicon Valley are not going to come on this stage and walk in the audience and give you a group hug, right? Because they understand you represent a lineage of the American people saying, no, not on our watch. We've lost this country. We had lost it, not about to lose it. When they stole the election, we had lost the country. And we would not have gotten the country back if it was not for you having Donald Trump's back. His moral clarity say, I'm going to do it, but he needed troops in back of him that were unflinching, unrelenting, and say, we are not going to quit, because the one lesson history teaches us about our movement, if we don't quit, we will ultimately be victorious. How did you feel on the evening of 5 November, about 10 or 11 o'clock, right? When all the pundits, they're sitting there all day. Look, the urban areas are turning out and the universities are turning out, and you just see their long faces all night. It was a bigger shock to them than 2016. 2016, they didn't see us coming. You could actually argue Hillary Clinton lost it more than we won it, right? Her arrogance, her incompetence, her just demonic nature. Gotta miss her. They saw Trump coming for 4 years. Hell, he had indictments for 372 years in prison. And believe you me, They wanted him in federal prison, did they not? They want him to die in federal prison. Not simply that Trump dies, but the Trump movement in MAGA dies with him. Right? Not happening. Not happening on our watch, right? That was the greatest. They had 4 years. They laid every trap they could, including at the end trying to assassinate him. Yes, the deep state trying to assassinate him. And anybody who doesn't believe it woke up last night because they tried to take him out when all else failed to assassinate him. And God in heaven protected him. That's why the big steal, God works in mysterious ways. The big steal was providential. Think of what the second term would have been like when they're all ganged up around him, right? And the rhinos all turned on him. He got the Russiagate, all that nonsense. That's all ridiculous. Think of what the second term, and think of the marvelous, magnificent nature of this second term. Because he had 4 years of having the precinct strategy and people like yourselves having his back. And he's seeing his movements more than just these great rallies. The rallies are amazing, but this is the hard work. He saw it and could feel it. You could see it in the states. You could see it with the turnout. Hell, this is what Elon Musk, when he came in, he said, I fully support that. I see it's a grassroots, it's a MAGA plus strategy. Because you don't have the money, the billions of dollars they have to go up on TV. You have to do it from the grassroots. And the smartest engineer in the world looked at it and goes, hey, I'm with them. And look at Trump. And look at Trump. And look at all the public intellectuals. Russ Vought at Center for Renewing America. The Brooks over at America First, Brooks Rollins, America First Policy Institute, Stephen Miller at America First Law Institute, Meadows and Senator DeMint at CPI, Conservative Policy Institute, and wait for it, Project 2025, right? You're damn right. You damn right. Bringing it together, thinking of every vertical, every policy of national security, America First economic policy, and my favorite, deconstructing the administrative state. 4 years. And look at the courage of those people. When they stepped out and stepped into this, their careers would have been over. They made a bet on Trump, but more importantly, they made a bet on Trumpism and MAGA. That this is what we have to do, and these are among the smartest people in the country, and the folks I just named are all in the second term, thank God in heaven, right? They stole it, and two things happened. Number one, all the cards got flipped over. These aren't your grandparents' Democrats. These are a bunch of radical, atheistic, neo-Marxists out to destroy this country. And President Trump had 4 years to prepare, so now I gave that interview years ago, and I said, hey, we're trying to flood the zone, do 2 or 3 things every night. Hell, he's doing a dozen every day. That's because of preparation, and they're sticking. You know, Bill Maher is sitting there, and he's trying. I mean, he met Trump, he's impressed, and his audience turned on him, not in the studio, but later online. Oh, my Lord. They turned to him for saying good things about Trump, but he's in there, he says, hey, I noticed you're talking about Trump third term. I said, yeah, working on that with some folks. He says, well, I want to give you something. A Constitution of the United States. He says, you know, then he read on his show. He went and read the 22nd Amendment. He says, you see, it's right there. He gave it to him. I want you to hold it. I want you to know. I said, Bill, President Trump right now on exerting his Article 2 power, which is a long way before your amendment you're talking about, right? It's up in the body of the work. Doing his Article 2 power of Chief Executive Officer of the United States government, the Commander-in-Chief of our armed forces, and the Chief Magistrate and Chief Law Enforcement Officer of this government. Right now, there are 150 lawsuits, and every day they get 6 or 7 more. I said, I can tell you right now, it's black letter what his responsibilities are, but you guys are in it challenging it every day. And guess what? We ain't going to amend this, but I think we got a couple of 3 workarounds, so just stand by. Their heads blow up. It's very simple. Most nations are not fortunate to have a man like Trump show up. In our country, as great as some of our presidents and military leaders and others have been, we've had two before him that have stood out. So roughly every 100 or 150 years. You got to play this hand out. We got to play it all the way out. Because an individual like that does not come on the scene. And trust me, to turn this nation around is going to take more than 4 years. You think that? Hell, it's going to, with patriots here that won't give up, it's going to take us that long to take over the Republican Party in South Carolina. Starting on May 3rd. President Trump right now is, look at what he's doing. Just look at it for a second. These aren't small things. Remember Bill Clinton and the uniforms in schools and things like that? He is trying and accomplishing reorganizing the commercial relationships of the nations of the earth. Is that a small thing? No. He has every vested interest that has made so much money as they bled America dry, right? And here's the thing that's the hardest to take. It makes the working class and the middle class citizens who were the best, who husband their resources, who are the householders that every democracy and republic depends upon. Edmund Burke told us that this was the little platoons, right, that was so essential to make a country work. They took your tax money and they took the little bit you have set aside in 401ks or in these, Oregon teachers or, the Alabama pension fund, all the pension funds, the equity that you've saved up for your retirement and your tax money was what was used to ship all the high value added manufacturing jobs overseas to make money for the elites in this country. No country on earth has ever been betrayed by the elites of their nation like the United States of America in the 21st century, right? And here's what they did it for. Not for ideology, not for any noble purpose. They did it for money. And money they turned into power. And the only thing that stands in the way of their complete takeover is a guy named Donald Trump in the MAGA movement, right? Think about it. Think about that. President Trump, he's reordering the world economic system, and it's not easy. What he's trying to do is quite simple, to bring high value added manufacturing jobs back to the United States of America. No great power can exist without being a manufacturing superpower. And yet all day long on TV, I get all the service industry, and they put up consultants and McKinsey and Booz Allen and Goldman Sachs. Hell, that's all the service business. And that can come and go with a whim. There's no sustainable competitive advantage. There's sustainable competitive advantage in what you make, in the intellectual property you make it off of. And that's what makes economies grow, and this is what makes communities thrive. Trump understands that, and he's taking on the world. And every day you have other people coming, boom, boom, boom. He's driving towards that. At the same time, he's rethinking the geopolitical structure of the world since the Second World War. And he's saying, hey, I think the framers had a pretty good idea. It was called the Monroe Doctrine. We're going to revert back to a hemispheric defense. And that defense is going to go at least from the Panama Canal. That is ours, and we're taking back, right? Jimmy Carter and all you feckless Democrats going to give it to people who immediately transferred it to the Chinese Communist Party for money. All the way up to Greenland. Why Greenland? Because you block the Russian Navy coming out of Murmansk and Archangel. You block them. They can't be a threat to the United States. So we say to Europe, our great allies in NATO, who have never really paid for the defense at all, it's the United States of America that does it. If they said they go, Bannon, it's so harsh. We got 2 carrier battle groups as we sit here today in the Red Sea. 2, with 24,000 young sailors. Right? Keeping the Red Sea open for the Suez Canal so that oil from the Gulf and goods from China can go the Suez Canal to Europe. And what are the Europeans doing? You got 1 British frigate, you got 1 Italian corvette. You got one French destroyer. That's all they're putting up. Because the elites in this country are in business with them. They sold out this country to them, so certainly they're going to protect them. And that's what President Trump's saying. No, the elites in Europe are as wealthy as elites in America. It's time they start paying up. The working people in Europe have retired 50 or 55 on a full pension. You got full health care. You got free college. You take, 6 or 8 weeks off in the summer. You go to the summer in Europe, nobody's there. Do you have that? No, you don't have that. And the reason is the good jobs have been shipped away. But more importantly, you're spending $1 trillion on defense right now to protect these folks. And more importantly, the greatest asset you have, your sons and daughters are the ones on the carrier battle groups. They're the ones walking patrol in the Hindu Kush. That's the 101st Airborne Brigade that's in Romania. That's what's in the South China Sea. The very people that are the backbone of the nation that have sacrificed everything, it's their children that have volunteered, not the elites' kids, right? How many progressive Democrats you got over there? Yeah, you have some Navy SEALs because that's gone a little woke, right? But Pete Higgs is going to take care of that. America First national security policy. Sit down with the Russians. Let's talk about a rapprochement. Let's stop this killing field in Ukraine. Folks, when people say it's going to be Third World War is here. If you go back to September of 1939 in Poland and take it all the way to June of 1941 when the Wehrmacht attacked their allies, the Russians, you take that time and you take North Africa, the fall of France, the Blitz over Britain, the Battle of Britain. I'll throw in Finland and some stuff and other stuff in North Africa. There's a couple 100,000 people. Terrible, but not huge casualties. Hell, we've lost 1.5 million in Ukraine, right? That people in this audience said, no way, we should not do that. It was the elites in this country that forced the Ukrainians to go fight that fight. Remember, Mersheimer said, the elites in this nation are going to lead the Ukrainians down the primrose path to their destruction. And when it comes to burdensome, and what I mean by burdensome, when the frickin' European elites got to start paying for it, not the American taxpayer, all of a sudden, whoa, we need to bring it to a head. That's how heartless they are. Do you think they care about the Ukrainian people? Look at Ukraine. Ukraine looks like Dresden in 1945, and they could care less. They move on with their lives in the south of France, or in Tuscany, in Italy, or in the West End of London, of which, by the way, is not owned by the British people anymore, but owned by Russian oligarchs. The Gulf Emirates and the Chinese Communist Party bought their own country, like they're trying to buy the country here. And who stands in the way of that? Trump. And who's got Trump's back? You. If you ever falter, it's over. And that gets to the third part of things. America First national security policy, economic nationalism started with these trade and tariff deals, and it's more than trade and tariffs. It's taking on the Chinese Communist Party and forcing Wall Street, the corporatists in Silicon Valley to bring these jobs back. You're not going to get underwritten. Then you've got the last part. Deconstruct the administrative state and destroy the deep state. I don't call it a deep state because it ain't deep. It's up in your grill. President Trump's like like a leader in Saigon in 1967. 9/10 of that government are not just anti-MAGA, they're anti-American. They're globalists. They do not believe in the nation state. They do not believe in the Treaty of Westphalia. They do not believe in this republic as a constitutional republic. And I will tell you, the first opportunity they got to take Trump out, they will take Trump out. You cannot trust any of them. People say, well, I said, he's doing so much. The one thing I would recommend we do a little quicker, with a little more urgency. We take a trenching tool out and we start digging them out of the FBI, the Department of Justice, the CIA. Is it right? Look at this. Your American patriots have fought in every modern war. Your sons and daughters have fought. You're the patriot, the backbone of the nation. And you're cheering, taking down the FBI, taking down the CIA. Things would be unheard of 40 or 50 years ago. Why? You've had a great awakening. You understand what's gone on. You've seen a man like Trump come along with a revolution of common sense, and what did they do to him? They tried to destroy him. What was it about Trump? What did Trump say? What did Trump do? What was so awful that he had to be destroyed? He had to be put in prison till he died, or he had to be assassinated. What was it about Trump? Is that he stood up for the American working man and woman, you. And remember, the one thing they hate above all else is your empowerment. Because they understand once you're empowered, you're not going to give it back, right? You understand how you turn your country around. You're seeing it on a microcosm of how you took over the Republican Party here, right? It was no garden party, correct? Right? It wasn't. It had to be done. Otherwise, you just controlled opposition. How'd the country get like this? You said Biden or Obama or Hillary Clinton or all the neo-Party, but it was a Republican Party that was just controlled opposition, just kind of went along. This, like your beloved senator from South Carolina. I think there might be a primary challenge now that I hear this. That's a symptom of the problem, is it not? It's that go along with what the radical Democrats want to do, right? It's want to spread America all over hell's half acre. It's not that we don't have strategic interests. This is not America alone. We're not isolationist. Hell, virtually every person or family here either had somebody in the service, knows overseas. You are the backbone of what's kept us free. We're not isolationists. We're not saying come home. We're not saying America alone. But it's no longer we're going to be the policeman, the cop for globalists, for their interests, not the interests of the nation. They hate Trump because his first slogan, America First. Remember that? Oh my God, they're fascist. They're fascist because he wanted to put America first and, wait for it, American citizens first. Right? Right. Right? What is Trump fighting on the tariffs and the trade and all this, on the tax bill he's doing? The additional tax cut, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, right? He understands the American people, that the shoulders of the whole world system rest on your shoulders. Think about that. It rests on your shoulders. You're the full faith and credit of the United States. The whole monetary system, everything is on your shoulders. The whole military is on your shoulders. And you've been screwed every day for the last 50 years since President Reagan left, right? Right? Until Trump came out. That's what they hate. They hate the fact that he came with a revolution that was a great awakening. Nobody in this room, if I told you years ago that one day, right before the 250th anniversary of one of the greatest moments in world history, not just American history, the shot heard around the world in Lexington and Concord, you would be in a convention hall screaming like mad men and mad women, right? As one of the greatest examples in this country of taking the country back. You would say, no, I'm not going to, It was on, think about it. Think about your life. Think of the arc of your life. Think of your journey. That is what is inspiring people throughout the country. Tarrant County, and here's the amazing thing. In South Carolina, which is so MAGA, with his population and his folks, in Texas, which is so MAGA, the establishment there are, how do I say this politely, not MAGA, right? Because the vested interest, South Carolina is a magnificent state. Do you honestly think they're just going to turn it over to you and say, okay, you guys run it? That's not the way it works. And you know that. And that's why you're such an amazing lesson to people, because you said, my agency, my own human agency. They may think I'm a nobody, but I'm not. And you've proved that. So the last thing is to leave you guys with is in inspiring other people. Think about it for a second. The first victory, and Trump even coming down and doing it, was inspired by divine providence, and the hand of God was in there. The hand of God was in the big steal, because God wanted us to understand the enemies of this nation and what they were prepared to do to this nation and prepared to do to the folks that were the backbone of the nation, right? That victory against all odds, the third victory, because they saw us coming, is the most powerful, because now we have people that you would think never hear the MAGA about MAGA. 39% of African American men, Hispanics in majority. And I can tell you, having done a short trip to a federal prison, I'm telling you right there, these people, these young African American and Hispanic men hate the Democratic Party. They hate it. And they admire Trump. They don't understand all his policies, and they don't have to. They said, that guy's a leader. He's not a politician. I will follow that man. That's what Trump gives us. And what is for you tonight, after this, ask yourself one thing about taking it broader from here and even broader than Columbia. But taking your message throughout the country, to your countrymen, that so far some of them have just been too timid to do it. Ask yourself, the world's had, 10, 12, 14, 114 billion, I think, 114 billion people, right, since the beginning. Why did divine providence put you here in this time and place? What are you going to be judged for? What are you going to be held accountable for? Why are you here in America and you are every bit as patriotic and have a deep, abiding love for this country and prepared to sacrifice for this country as the men and women that were in Lexington Common and at Concord Bridge this Saturday 250 years ago? Everybody that reads this, if I was there, we are in the greatest danger, a far greater danger than the Patriots in 1775 and 76. Greater than even the Civil War. Greater than World War II and the lead up to it. This is the greatest peril this nation's ever had, because the forces aligned against us are not only international forces, but the traitors on Wall Street and corporate America and in Silicon Valley. The enemy within is almost as powerful as the enemy without. And the only thing that stands between it is Trump and you. In closing, I can just leave you with one thing. You are amazing, tremendous. Now you have to inspire an entire nation and lead an entire nation. No, I'm just a crazy Mick that yells into a microphone. Seriously, you guys do the work. I just want to leave you with one thing. When you set out to take Vienna, take Vienna. Fight, fight, fight.
Trump 2028.
Trump, 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 Trump. On the afternoon of January 20th, 2029, I'll have Bill Maher at the inauguration read this out loud. How's that?
Little gift for you. Thank you for this. Greatly appreciated. Cannot say thank you enough. This is an icon that we've got for Poland. I know you like the Poles.
Wow.
And this is Donald Trump's star on or used to be.
Hollywood Lock. Hold it. They take this star up.
He looks like Richard Gere.
You look just like Richard Gere. I thought it was coming out of the audience. That's for you. Okay. Did they take President Trump's star up? Did they take it up?
I have no idea, but
Aren't they trying to? Are we going to let them do that? Hell no.
I am so honored. I am so honored. Oh my God. You are so cool.
No.
You are so cool.
Let me tell you something. There's no way that you can be defeated. If we don't quit, we're going to win. You know that, right?
I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Put it in the war room. You are.
From the War Room, Steve Bannon. If anybody's ever heard my news, I've got like a Walter Cronkite guy that does my news, and I hate following him because I just can't measure up, and now here I am. So, I simply say this. You guys are the best part of my day. I've been with my colleagues enough to know that they also treasure the fact that you guys are giving them a listen on a daily basis. So once again, thank you very much. I now hand this off.
Bill, thank you. Thank you, Phil. Okay, folks, this has been great so far. Now we're going to come to the business part of the meeting, but I think we can get this to move fairly fast, so hopefully we won't keep you really late tonight. The first thing we need to do is to elect a permanent convention chairman, permanent convention officers. Is there any nominations for permanent convention chairman? Please come up to the mic, state your name and precinct. We need a nomination. I'm sorry? You're right, absolutely. I skipped over that. I'm sorry. We need to do the credentialing report first, then we can actually start doing those. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe McDonald for the, McLaughlin for the credentialing report, and Heather Sheen for the teller committee, who's give you directions on how to do the voting.
Thank you, delegates, for showing up tonight. We were able to credential 562 MAGA credentialing for today. Thank you.
Okay, folks, just a little bit of housekeeping on how we will do the voting. If possible, we can probably just do voice voting for the officers. If it becomes contested and we're unable to determine from the voice vote, at that point in your packet, we have colored pieces of paper, and at that point you'll be given instructions which paper to use to vote if we need to do a paper vote. When we come to the election of the county chairman, vice chair, and state executive committeemen, if there is a contested office, then we will use these ballots. If it is not contested, then you can just do a voice vote by acclaim. When we do the election of the convention delegates to the state convention, that's what this big piece of paper here, your ballot, is. There are several ways that you can vote on this ballot. You will find on your seats that there are, I think, a couple of slates that if you want to, you can simply vote for that slate. So one of the slates was submitted beforehand. That's the America First slate. You can just check that box and then your ballot is done. I think there's another slate. There may be more than that. So if there is another slate, you can put the name of that slate on the second line and check that box. Or if you wish, you can vote individually for the delegates that you want to go to the state convention. You can choose up to 180 people on this list. That would be 90 delegates and 90 alternates. Do not choose a slate and an individual delegate. If you do, your ballot is considered spoiled and we'll have to throw it away. You can only choose up to 180 people. So if you choose a slate, that's your 180. If you don't want to do one of the slates, you're free to choose individually. A final note, you should have received at check-in an addendum, and these were a few names that were inadvertently left off of your ballot list. If you vote individually and you want to vote for one of these people, please write it on your big ballot here and submit it. That way we know which ballot included the addendum person. Thank you.
Okay, now we're ready to accept a nomination for the permanent convention president. Is there anyone would like to make a motion to nominate someone for permanent convention president? Please come to the mic and state your precinct, name and precinct.
Yvonne Julian, Southside Precinct. I'd like to nominate Ray Sheen for permanent convention president.
Okay, is there a second? Please come to the mic, name and precinct. We need to make sure we have things recorded.
Caleb Davis from Sulphur Springs Precinct. I second the nomination of Ray Sheen for permanent convention president.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other nominations for permanent convention president? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody come to the mic, so we can approve this by acclamation. All those in favor of Ray Sheen, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, we next need to have a nomination for permanent convention secretary. Is there a nomination for permanent convention secretary?
Olga Lichinska, Timberlake Precinct. I nominate Angie Fisher for the permanent convention secretary.
Okay, Angie Fisher's been nominated. Is there a second? Okay, second, Steve Hudson Piedmont. Are there any other nominations for permanent convention secretary? Yes.
Daniel Gamble, Donaldson Precinct. I want to nominate Angie Fisher, the convention secretary.
Okay, thank you. We've got, she's been nominated twice now. We can vote on this by acclamation. All those in favor of Angie, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, those are the only convention officers that we must elect, so we'll go from that. Next, we're going to take a look at approving the permanent agenda. You have that in your envelope. Please take a look at that. We are already at the halfway down, actually about 2/3 of the way down. We've completed the credentialing committee report. We're in the permanent convention officers approval. We've done that. Now we need to approve the agenda for the remainder of the meeting. I need a motion to approve this agenda. Okay, that's to approve. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, we have a second. Any debate on that? Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the last thing we need to approve are the convention rules. You had that in your packet. You had the standing rules for the convention. There are 12 of them. Hopefully you've had a chance to read all those. I'm not going to read them to you. If anyone, well, first off, let's have a motion to approve the rules. Okay, Joe Bowers, Greenville 1, and is there a second? Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. Any debates? Any points that anyone would like to see? Anything to discuss on this? Okay, all those in favor of approving these standing rules, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Great, we're moving right through the agenda. So we're doing well so far. Next thing is the election of our county chairman. Is there, so the floor is now open for nominations for county chairman. Do we have any nominations?
Olga Lichinska, Timberlake Precinct. I nominate the Jeff Davis for the chairman of Greenville County Republican Party. If you're new here, Jeff did serve as a chairman 2 years ago, for 2 years, just like President Trump took 4 years off. Jeff took 2 years off, and now they're all both ready to lead us again. If you know Jeff, you know he is the most hardworking and uncompromised leader. He will always speak truth to power. enemy or friend. He will keep you accountable. Same principles apply, and he will put you to work. So be careful what you wish for. The list, I could talk about him for hours. I think one or two more things I want to mention. Jeff is my husband, and he's the best dad to the generals, and the generals approve this message.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'm Tammy
We
Allen
have
with
the- come to
O'Neill
the mic, please.
Precinct.
Go ahead.
Tammy Allen, O'Neill Precinct. I second that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Michael Adcock from Precinct 26, and I third that.
Okay, so we have a second and a third. Thank you. Are there any other nominations for county chairman? Okay. Greg, are you about to make a comment? No. Okay. Okay, since there are no other nominations, we can do this a vote by acclamation. All those in favor of Jeff Davis as county chairman, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes carried it. The next county office is vice chairman. Are there any nominations for the office of first vice chairman? Okay, we have someone coming up.
I nominate Mike Voten.
Name and precinct, please.
Thank you. Harry Fisher, Vice President, Verdmont.
Thank you.
I nominate Mike Voten as first vice chair of Greenville County. I have known Mike for 40 years. I stand here before you today because when times are good, Mike is with you. When times are bad, he's been the best friend I've ever had. He's a MAGA patriot, and that's important. Mike can talk about what he does down in Columbia. There's a few things I always think about when I think about the character of somebody. First, you look for credibility. How honest are they? That's why I'm a friend of his for 40 years. Is he informative? Well, I can tell you for the people that he represents, he's informative. He does his homework. He just doesn't mouth what he hears in the news. He's a deep dive type of person. He's suggestive. He comes up with ideas. Sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. But know that Mike is always looking out for the best interests of people. And the last thing I wanted to mention about that, he's responsive. So when he thinks that there's something that needs to be done, he'll make it happen. He's a patriot. He's Christian. He's a great husband, father, and grandfather. That's why I'm here tonight, to support my friend and an American patriot, Mike Voten. I hope you can support him as well.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Joe McLaughlin, West Side Precinct. I second that. Mike is a man that's teachable and full of integrity. He's got my vote.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other nominations for first vice chair? Okay, thank you for whoever turned on the crickets. Okay. So we can vote on this by acclamation. All those in favor of Mike for first vice chair, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. The next office is the state executive committeeman or committee person. Do we have any nominations?
I am Carrie Gifford, Palmetto Precinct, and it is my privilege to nominate Yvonne Julian for State EC. Yvonne is an excellent and intelligent leader with an accomplished career in corporate America. As a convert to the Republican Party, she thoroughly understands Republican and conservative principles. She has done a wonderful job as our chairwoman these last 2 years. She will represent our county with grace, poise, and professionalism as State EC. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes, Scott Gear, Sycamore. I second Yvonne.
Okay, I'm sorry, we didn't catch your name again.
Scott Gear, Sycamore.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Are there any other nominations for State EC? Okay, we can again have a vote by acclamation. All those in favor of Yvonne, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, very good. We're through that piece now. So the next piece, next element on our agenda is to vote for the state delegates. You have, Heather already talked with you about how to do that voting. There are, where's Heather? There are buckets or boxes that we can put those in. We do ask that you not vote them or not fold them. Keep them flat if you can, just because it's easier for them to be able to count, to stack them and count. But if you've already folded them, well, okay. Okay. Okay, that's right. They came voted. I'm sorry. I take that back. They came voted folded already. So there is a box in the back. And Heather, are you going to be collecting those right now? Where is Heather? Oh, she's okay. So it looks like people are just placing their ballots. Let's move on to our next topic. And meanwhile, Heather, you can also have people start, some of your teller committee start to gather up ballots along the way. Okay, our next item is the approval of county party rules changes. And this is, the Rules Committee met and had this, so this is a motion from the Rules Committee. It does not require a second because it's from the Rules Committee. Elizabeth Jean?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to propose 2 rule changes today to the Greenville County rules, as each delegate received previously by email. I will, however, read them. What you received was a full set of what would be our new rules. The only changes were minor. The first was a motion to accept the reformatted Greenville County Republican Party rules. This adds a title to each major numbered section. It also adds a title to each major section. In the number section, that are designated by letters. All of the paragraphs were numbered as well. So basically, it is much easier to cite a rule. When a Rules Committee member stands up and tries to tell you where you can find the information, we can tell you exactly how to get there, and you don't have to read 4 paragraphs to find it. The second rule change that we have agreed to is a change to the quorum, and this is 3 words, the lesser of. So I'm going to read the old rule, and then I will read it with the new words in it. But we're talking about the minimum number of people that can be present for business to be done. So, other than for the purpose of electing individuals to fill vacancies for certain county party offices, the quorum for all meetings of the County Executive Committee shall be 25 members or 1/3 of the members or their properly authorized proxies. All meetings must be properly noticed. We are changing it to add the lesser of. Other than for the purpose of electing individuals to fill vacancies for certain county party offices, the quorum for all meetings of the County Executive Committee shall be the lesser of 25 members or 1/3 of the members of their properly authorized proxies. All meetings must be properly noticed. This amendment makes the rule grammatically correct by eliminating any confusion as to what is the quorum threshold, and just for everyone's information, this is also how it's always been practiced.
Okay, so we have that motion. Again, since it's from the Rules Committee, we don't need a second. Is there anyone with any comments or discussion with respect to those rules changes? This is your chance. If you have a question, you can ask the question. If you disagree, this is the time to disagree and discuss it. Okay, it does not appear that anyone's coming up to the mic. All those in favor of approving these rules changes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. Okay, that concludes the business. I would like to ask Tom Mardo to come up for our benediction. I'm sorry. Okay. Let me call everyone back to order for the benediction, please. So please quiet, and let's have our benediction now.
Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for bringing us here today. In this season of Easter, Lord, we ask you to shine your light brighter than it's ever been, and those that don't know you would awaken to know you. And those that do know you, that don't follow you, Father, that don't know that you should be the Lord of their life. You awaken them so they would follow you. And those that do follow you but waiting for an answer, Father, you would give them an answer, and they would know what to do. And they would no longer sit and wait, but they would go into action because you've asked them, and you've told them, and you've given them direction. We pray in this Easter season, Father, that we all have direction, all for your good. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Tom. I would entertain now a motion to recess this convention. Please come. We need name and precinct. Please, I can't hear you unless you talk to the mic. Sorry, folks. There's just too much background noise. So if you have something to say, please come to the mic.
Catherine Thomas, Wade Hampton, I say we recess.
Okay, so we have a motion for recess. Is there a second?
John Harrington with the Poinsett Precinct.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Thank you very much.